Good morning, America, and welcome back to the 20th edition of the Rhine Report, where we put to test to both immigration and naturalization law by federal and state statute, alongside of the INS rules themselves, specifically Section 237, 4, etc. I needed to look at this because I think it's often neglected when there's news reporting on the issues involving Khalil and Garcia and the 250 so-called and alleged gang members of Tren de Aragua. So let's take the Garcia case first, as that is one that's perhaps the easiest to look at in the moment. The first thing would be the emergency application to the Supreme Court by the Trump administration seeking to end the stay on their removal of Garcia, in which Judge Zinnes, the Maryland Federal District Court, had ordered his immediate return to her jurisdiction. The Supreme Court opined on this in a per curiam opinion, which is really just the production of a statement, and that statement denies the Trump administration their stay of the originating order. And it is noted by Judge or Justice Sotomayor, with concurrence from Kagan and Barrett, that Mr. Garcia has not been charged with a crime. His arrest seems to be without a warrant, and his detention seems totally unjustified. So the case has been remanded back to Judge Zinnes in the Maryland Federal District Court, and she has made a further order insisting on the return of Mr. Garcia into her jurisdiction. That's the main body of what's going on here. Of course, the caveat to the Supreme Court 9-0 opinion and order is, and I see the hand of Justice Roberts here, he used the words facilitate and rather than effectuate, and complained about that in the judge's order. So it's an unusual step. I tried to explain in a previous podcast the difference between facilitate, which is to make things easier to have him returned, as opposed to effectuate, which is really like a shall. They must do this. They must make it happen. And I'll get into this again. Now, I don't know whether the government, this fascist Trump administration, I don't know which section or sections they're using of immigration and naturalization law to effect and explain and justify the A, arrest, B, detention, and C, virtual deportation to a foreign country. And it seems to me I have to look at sections 212 and 237 to get an answer. But in a broad sense, there are strict limitations on what can be done. But it's a very complicated set of rules and laws, and we need to look at that carefully. For instance, in the second section of 212, I won't bother you with the subparagraphs, a broader exemption, I'm reading now from the law, to that found in section 212, yada, 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 exempts an alien not described in section 212 from being removed under section 237, which is what we're discussing now, because of his or her, quote, past, current, or expected beliefs, statements, or associations, if such beliefs, statements, or associations would be lawful within the United States. Now, clearly, Mr. Garcia was just a family man. He expressed no such beliefs. There's no proof, there's no evidence that he's acted as a foreign terrorist or anything like that, which might give the possibility for the Secretary of State to interfere. But however, the Secretary of State may nevertheless seek to remove such an alien if the Secretary determines that the alien would compromise a compelling United States foreign policy interest. In such a case, the Secretary of State is required under Section 212 to notify specific committee chairs in the United States House of Representatives and the United States Senate of this decision. So this actually applies not to Mr. Garcia, but it does apply to the Khalil case, in which I believe the government is trying to use the Secretary of State's undated memo with its conclusory allegations against Mr. Khalil in order to justify his removal. And once again, remember that I don't see anywhere in the immigration and nationalization laws and rules and regulations any right of the U.S. government to take someone accused, detain them, and deport them into a prison, not a detention center, on foreign grounds, on foreign territory. And I should think that the judge in Maryland, in the Garcia case, will want to see all the contractual evidence of whatever was transacted between the United States government and this Nazi President Bukele in El Salvador. How much money was being paid, for what purposes, under what guidelines. It's going to be interesting to find out.